Hi, today we're going to talk about Cityscape. Cityscape is a strategy game where you try to figure out how to build a city and predict what you are going to build. This game is definitely more suited for kids that are at least 4th grade or older, and you're going to want to teach it in various steps, because it's a little bit to give all of the kids the rules at the front of the game, so you might want to start with 1 or 2 dice instead of 4. Once the kids get the game, they all love the game, but teaching it is going to take patience to learn how to do this. But don't be scared off. It's a fun strategy game. So this is what we have. You have a board with squares, 16 squares. Each player has a city with a little groove in the middle, and each player normally takes 4 dice. Again, if you're starting with younger kids, you're going to want to start, or with kids the first time, you're going to start with maybe 1 or 2 dice. I've tried to line this up so that you can see this die corresponds to this row, this die corresponds to this row, and this die corresponds to this row from this player's perspective. This player is looking at the rows in this direction, and this player is looking at the rows in this direction. Now, the numbers that you put on the dice determines what you are trying to build in your city. If you have the number 1, what you are saying is that there will be at least 1 building in your city. If you have up to number 4, so 1 through 4, that is the number of buildings that you hope to see. If you play 4, then you expect to be able to see all 4 buildings. 5 and 6 are special numbers. 5 says that you hope to see at least 2 buildings of the same height. You can have more, but you minimally have to have 2 buildings of the same height. And 6 is if you have a building in the row that is the tallest building on the board. So the way that you play this is you rotate around 1 player at a time. They take a block from the stack. There are different size blocks that can be played with. It doesn't matter which block that they want to take. They just take 1 block. And let's say I'm going to put my block here. The next player takes a block and they say I'm going to put a block here. Play continues to go on, building up on top of each other around the room, various heights, various rows of blocks. When all of the blocks have been played, now you start figuring out who has won and who gets a block, or who gets points for predicting how the city is going to look. So each player from their perspective, so if I'm going to start with this player, I said in this row I'm going to be able to see at least 1 building. If you look down this row, I can see at least 1 building. There's 1 and there's 2. So that means I would have gotten points for this one. This one, I said, I placed it as a number 5, which said that there's going to be at least 2 buildings the same height. But if you notice, I do not have 2 buildings the same height. So I would not have gotten points for this one. For number 3, I said I would be able to see 3 buildings. Now, I can only see 2. I can see this one, and this one is the next one higher. So I can only see 2. If I'm looking down this row, I cannot see these 2 because this building is taller than these 2. So I would not have gotten points for this one. And then lastly, this one I said 2. If I'm looking down the row, I can see this building and this building because this building is taller than this one. So I get points for 2 because I can see 2 buildings. I don't get points for these 2 because they are hidden behind these 2. If I look at it from this player's perspective, he had a 1. He can see 1 building. He can actually see 2, but he said he could at least see 1, so we have that. 4 I said I could see 4 buildings. If I'm looking at it from here, I can see 1 building and I can see 2, but I cannot see 4. So they would not get credit for that one. This one is 3. I can see 1 building, I can see 2, but I cannot see 3 because these 2 are both shorter. So they would not get credit for this one. This one is a 2. I can see 1 building, I can see 2. I just so happen to see 3, but the only requirement I had was for 2. So this player would have gotten credit for the first row and the 4th row, where this player would have gotten credit for the first row and the 4th row. So each user or each player looks at the board from their perspective and based on what they predicted the city is going to be. As I said, it's a great game for students and they love to play it once they understand it. It just takes a little bit for them to understand how you can see what buildings are where and how tall they are, that they're in relationship to each other. And if I'm standing here, think about it, if I'm standing right here, I can see this building and this building because it's taller, but I can't see these shorter buildings. As always, please refer to the official documentation for this game and enjoy. Thank you.